You just got married, congratulations. You are combining your lives, your last names, and probably your car insurance. You call your agent and say, "Add my spouse to my policy." The agent says, "Sure." And a few days later, your premium drops by $100. You feel great. You did the responsible thing. But here is the number that should terrify you. Over 60% of married couples make a critical error when adding a spouse to their auto insurance, and that mistake can cost them thousands of dollars in a claim. Not a premium increase, a claim denial, the kind that leaves you on the hook for a totaled car and a hospital bill. The mistake is so common, so innocent, and so easy to fix, but almost no one talks about it. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what that #1 mistake is and how to avoid it. You will learn the difference between listing a spouse as a named driver versus an additional insured, and why that distinction matters more than your deductible. I will give you the exact question to ask your agent before you sign anything, and the one document you need to request to prove you are protected. This is not about saving $20 a month. This is about making sure your insurance actually pays when you need it most. Let me start with the mistake itself. The #1 error people make when adding a spouse to their policy is failing to list both spouses as named insureds on the policy declarations page. Instead, they list one spouse as the named insured and the other as an additional driver or household member. That sounds like the same thing, right? It is not. The named insured is the person who owns the policy, has the legal right to make changes, and is entitled to liability protection. An additional driver is simply someone who is permitted to drive the cars on the policy, but they do not have the same legal standing. Here is where the disaster happens. If the additional driver causes an accident and gets sued, the lawsuit might not be fully covered if they are not a named insured. Some policies have exclusions for drivers who are not listed as named insureds, especially if that driver has a separate policy of their own or if there is a dispute about who the primary driver is. But wait, it gets worse. If the additional driver owns a vehicle that is not on the policy and they cause an accident while driving that other vehicle, the policy may provide no coverage at all. That is a gap that can leave you personally liable for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if one spouse has assets like a house or investments in their name alone, and they are not a named insured, those assets could be at risk in a lawsuit arising from the other spouse's accident. The solution is simple. Both spouses should be listed as named insureds on every joint policy. Not additional drivers, not household members, named insureds. This costs no extra money and takes about 30 seconds for an agent to correct. Let me break this down into 3 segments. First, I will explain the legal difference between a named insured and an additional driver. Second, I will show you the specific scenarios where this mistake causes claim denials. Third, I will give you a step-by-step checklist to fix your policy immediately. Segment 1. The legal difference. The named insured is the person who signs the insurance contract. They have the right to cancel the policy, make changes, and file claims. They are also the person to whom the insurance company owes a duty of good faith. That duty is the legal obligation to handle claims fairly and pay what is owed. An additional driver is simply a permissive user of the vehicles. They have no contractual rights with the insurer. They cannot make changes to the policy. And in some policies, they are only covered while driving the specific vehicles listed on the policy. If they drive a rental car, a borrowed car, or a car that is not on the policy, they may have no coverage. A named insured typically has coverage for any vehicle they drive, including rentals and temporary substitutes. That is a massive difference. Now here is the pattern interrupt that most agents will never tell you. If both spouses are named insureds, the insurance company cannot deny coverage based on the argument that the driver was not the primary policyholder. This becomes critical in a serious accident where the insurance company is looking for any reason to limit their payout. I have seen claims where the insurer tried to reduce the settlement because the at-fault driver was only an additional driver, not a named insured. The argument was that the additional driver had a separate policy with another company that should pay first. That kind of dispute can delay your claim for months. Segment 2. The disaster scenarios. Let me give you a real example. A married couple in Texas had one auto policy. The wife was the named insured. The husband was listed as an additional driver. The husband caused a serious accident, injuring 2 people. Total damages exceeded $300,000. The insurance policy had liability limits of $250,000. The insurer paid the limit, but the injured party sued the husband personally for the remaining $50,000. The husband had assets in his name alone, including a rental property worth $150,000. Because he was only an additional driver, the policy's duty to defend him in a lawsuit was weaker, and the insurer did not provide a lawyer to fight the excess claim. The husband had to hire his own attorney and eventually settled by selling his rental property. If he had been a named insured, the insurer would have been obligated to provide a legal defense and would have been more motivated to settle within policy limits. Hence, that mistake cost him his investment property. Here is another scenario. A couple in Illinois had separate insurance policies before marriage. After marriage, they combined onto one policy. The wife kept her own car registered in her name only. The husband was added as an additional driver. The wife was the named insured. The husband got into an accident while driving his own car, which was still registered to him but listed on the joint policy. The insurance company denied coverage for the husband's injuries because they argued that his car should have been insured under his own separate policy. The couple spent 6 months fighting the denial. Eventually, they won, but not before paying for a rental car and legal fees out of pocket. If both had been named insureds, there would have been no argument about whose policy should pay. Segment 3. How to fix it right now. Here is your step-by-step checklist. Step 1. Pull out your current insurance declaration page. This is the summary document that shows your coverage limits and who is listed as the named insured. Look at the top of the page. You will see a section labeled Named Insured or Policyholder. If only one spouse's name appears, you have a problem. Step 2. Call your insurance agent or the customer service number. Say these exact words. I want both my spouse and me to be listed as named insureds on our auto policy, not just as additional drivers. Step 3. Ask for a written confirmation, an updated declarations page showing both names. Step 4. If you have separate policies from before marriage, cancel the one that is not being used, but make sure both names are on the active policy before you cancel the other one. You do not want a gap in coverage. Step 5. Review your other policies: homeowners, renters, umbrella, and life insurance. The same principle applies. Both spouses should be named as insureds or joint policyholders where possible. Now let me address the nuance for couples who live apart for work or for couples who are separated but not divorced. If you are legally separated, you may want separate policies. If you are married but live in different states because of military service or work, you still need to be correctly listed. Some states require that each car be insured in the state where it is registered. That can get complicated. In that situation, talk to an independent broker who understands multi-state coverage. The same goes for couples who own a business vehicle. Business policies have different rules, but the principle of naming both spouses as insureds on personal policies still applies. Let me also address the common objection. Some couples keep one spouse off the policy as a named insured because that spouse has a bad driving record or poor credit. They think that by listing the spouse only as an additional driver, their premium will be lower. That is insurance fraud. It is called material misrepresentation. If you intentionally hide the fact that a high-risk driver is a household member and will be driving your cars, the insurance company can deny any claim that driver is involved in. Worse, they can cancel your policy and blacklist you. The premium savings are not worth the risk. Be honest. Include your spouse fully. Another objection is that one spouse does not drive at all. If your spouse truly never drives, you can list them as an excluded driver. That means they have no coverage whatsoever if they get behind the wheel. This can lower your premium significantly, but the moment they drive even once, you are uninsured. Only do this if you are absolutely certain your spouse will never, ever drive your car. For most couples, the peace of mind of having both as named insureds is worth the small premium increase. Let me give you a final example of getting it right. A couple in California got married and immediately called their insurer. They asked to be listed as joint named insureds on their auto, renters, and umbrella policies. The agent updated the declarations page and sent them a copy. 2 years later, the husband hit a pedestrian while driving a rental car in another state. The rental car company provided minimal liability coverage, but the couple's auto policy, with both as named insureds, kicked in as excess coverage. The policy paid over $100,000 in medical bills and legal fees. If the husband had only been an additional driver, the insurer might have argued that he was not covered while driving a rental car. Because he was a named insured, there was no dispute. The claim was paid promptly. Let me recap the key takeaways. Number 1. The number one mistake is listing your spouse as an additional driver instead of a named insured. Number 2. A named insured has full contractual rights and stronger legal protection. An additional driver has limited coverage, especially for non-listed vehicles. Number 3. An accident caused by an additional driver can lead to claim denials, coverage disputes, and personal liability for the at-fault spouse's assets. Number 4. Both spouses should be listed as named insureds on every joint policy, including auto, home, renters, and umbrella. Number 5. The cost of adding a spouse as a named insured is usually zero, but the protection is invaluable. Number 6. If your spouse does not drive, consider an excluded driver endorsement, but understand the risks. Number 7. Never hide a spouse's driving record or credit to get a lower premium. That is fraud. Number 8. Always request an updated declarations page showing both names as named insureds. Keep it in your files. Here is what I want you to do right now. Go find your auto insurance declarations page. Look at the top. If you see only your name or only your spouse's name, call your insurer today. Ask to have both listed as named insureds. It will take 5 minutes. And while you are on the phone, ask for the same on your homeowner's or renter's policy. This one call could save you from a financial disaster down the road. If this video helped you understand the hidden risk in your policy, hit the like button. It helps more married couples avoid this expensive mistake. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you do not miss my next video, which is called The Divorce Insurance Mistake That Leaves You Unprotected for Years. And comment below. Are both you and your spouse listed as named insureds on your policy, or just one of you? I read every comment. Thanks for watching. Now go protect your spouse and your assets. See you in the next one.